This is the Astrology Show podcast with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. This is your astrology and tarot for the week starting February 10. And the best place to hear the podcast is the Astrology Show on Substack, substack.com, where you can also pick up a daily horoscope sent to your email. Now, do you have Leo factors in your chart? The full moon at 24 Leo falls on February 12. I would allow February 11, 12 and 13 as well. This is a bit of a stretch for decisions about courtship, the bedroom, babies, infants, school children, teenagers and younger adults, and you may prefer to avoid that period. There are easier times for you to make up your mind. Your tarot this week can be decoded at jessicaadams.com. You can also pick up a free astrology calendar for 2025 at my website. Aries, the star. Taurus, the hermit. Gemini, the knight of pentacles. Cancer, the two of pentacles. Leo, the devil. Virgo, the two of wands. Libra, the world. Scorpio, the knight of cups. Sagittarius, the three of pentacles. Capricorn, the four of pentacles. Aquarius, temperance. And Pisces, the queen of swords. And now, here's your astrology. Aries, in the grand scheme of things, your divorce settlement, your family inheritance, your redundancy, your tax bill, your bank loan, and so on, may well become a symbol of your own freedom, space, and independence. You have to pull back, though, to the bigger picture of financial upheaval, which began in 2018. It peaked in 2020, of course, because of COVID. Yet even this week, you are still on the fly. This cycle does stop in July when you get a long break. And then from 2026, it's completely over. But let's zero in on this unpredictable money and property cycle because it's so active this week. Uranus is in Taurus in your second house of life budget. So this is actually about your values, what you refuse to sell out for, what you consider to be priceless above money, Aries. Now, Lady Gaga knew that she would lose sales and maybe business deals when she backed her views at the Grammys, but she did it anyway. Another Aries, Nigel Farage, is backing his values, which could not be more different from her values, and so on. So this is the cycle this week when your ethics, your morals, your beliefs, and your principles do translate into money, business, or property, maybe charity, quite directly. And you have to decide what you will sell out for and what you absolutely refuse to sell out for, with a decision pending. This cycle does end in July, as I've said, but along the way, you get to liberate yourself from who or what has actually been restricting you and confining you. In fact, you already experimented with an intriguing option in this direction over the last 6 months. That is working out quite well for you, but you also have to understand that he, she, or they involved in a recent new arrangement also want the freedom to say no and to do their own thing. That's why they call this cycle the most unpredictable of them all, because you cannot control or predict what other people or even large organisations are going to do. If you're one of those Aries people with Taurus in your natal chart, then the craziness of the world economy is directly impacting you. So, for example, you may have shares or investments, a pension or superannuation fund, cryptocurrency and the like, being profoundly affected by what has been happening over the last few weeks. This does end in July with a long break until the end of this year, but if you do have Taurus factors, it's a good idea to be extremely flexible. Even if you don't, or you just don't know, you can assume that you can be as bendy as possible in response to ever-changing numbers, which will go on changing for a few months yet. But from next year, you finally get to make a budget that you can stick to. Taurus, Mercury, the planet of communication, information and negotiation, is in your social media zone, your social life zone, where we find your friends and your groups in the sign of Pisces. You can gather a lot of information this week, and you should have a better hit rate than usual in terms of return calls and emails or returned letters. Focus on what happens socially with friends or the groups when Mercury turns retrograde or appears to go backwards from March 1. The best laid plans will then start to reverse, and this is really a reversal and rehearsal month when you get to figure out who and what matters most, because the potential for delays and rewrites is extremely high. The other really big thing happening with friends and groups is Neptune out of Pisces, Saturn out of Pisces, with the North Node in Pisces. That's a triple whammy. So if you think that you're going to end the year with a totally different reshuffled group, a new friendship, or the end or change of an old friendship, you're absolutely right. And the time starts now. I'm going to be talking about this cycle with Zane Stein from the Astrology Collective on February 23rd. This whole period from now until May is about the first big sign-off with the group and a friend, and the first sign-on at the same time. So, for example, you may leave one group and join another, or quit one friendship or substantially change it and enter a new one. And this goes on into early 2026. Gemini. This cycle is perfect for finding out everything you needed to know about your career but have been unable to get answers on for months. Given what happens in the last week of May 2025, when everything changes, you may be researching a future job this week, analysing the consequences of retiring or resigning, or just doing your homework on a boss, client, colleague, or professional competitor. Right now, you have the North Node, Saturn, and Neptune in your success zone in Pisces, which rules your academic career, your paid work or unpaid work. But from the final week of May, you lose 2 out of 3 of those factors. So let's talk about Pisces, the 10th house of your chart, and what's been going on. Essentially, you have been in years of other realities and an escape from reality, a bit of a bubble, and it has been going on for so long for you professionally, academically, or with your unpaid work that you may have lost sight of what's real. That is going to change as Neptune is on the move. And by the last week of May, when Saturn and Neptune are both there, in the new sign of Aries, and this era of your life is over, you may well be in a changed set of circumstances or making very new decisions about how it's going to be for you for the rest of the year. From 2026, you will look back over your shoulder and realise what a long period of quite strange professional direction this was for you, academically or with your unpaid roles. And yet, for every experiment that you've had, you have also learned that you can take a holiday from reality, and that's no bad thing. But your task now between here and May is to really sort things out in your own mind and to figure out who and what is going to shape up for you in the second half of 2026 and the first half of 2025 long behind you. Cancer. Well, you've been proactive about the paperwork, the contracts, the legal matters, or the new deals on the table, and it's starting to show if you have ticked all the right boxes in recent weeks. So, for example, you could be a product launch person, or you may be looking at a contract with Pluto in Aquarius in your 8th house of finance, property, and signatures. So many of you are on your way now, but it's typically going to involve a partner or a family member. It can also involve others who bring a kind of personal edge to what should really be strictly business, money, or property. This is now rolling, so you get to move on to your career or your academic career or your unpaid role. Now, in May 2025, when you have Saturn and Neptune both in Aries for the first time in your solar 10th house of success, you will be offered a way out or a way through, which has nothing to do with normality. This is typical of Neptune, and you've not experienced this cycle before in Aries in your success zone, so it may feel quite new and quite strange for a few weeks yet. But from the final week of May into June, you'll be signing on to a new situation which allows you to take both feet off the ground and experience something that other people would call a total escape or a real departure. This may be hinted at now, and you may be fully aware of it. If not, it is likely to be on your radar from this week, and you do have a decision to make because, of course, nobody is making you do anything with your astrology chart. You're just being offered. Now, this success message also applies to you if you're a student, between jobs, retired, or you have full-time home duties. What it means to have Neptune in Aries, Saturn in Aries, and Chiron also in Aries from the final week of May is hinted at now. And in fact, there may be one or two people or organisations which for you represent that holiday from the real world that I've been talking about. Leo, if an old friend re-enters your life now, he or she will connect you to a terrific network of people. If you make a new friend at this time, this man or woman will also open up your world from this week forward, either online or through a chain of invitations and introductions. The Jupiter transit of your solar 11th house is about expanding groups, growing through clubs, and having higher hopes where teams, organisations, associations, societies, and so on are concerned. So let's talk a bit more about Jupiter in Gemini in your chart this week until June. Then the revolution, Uranus in Gemini from July. It's fair to say, Leo, that you have to expect the unexpected with your social life, friends and groups from July. So you could conjecture this week and you might just be wrong. However, you are going to find tremendous freedom and independence through new friends and new groups, which are hinted at this week, but also freedom and independence from any friendship or group situation, which you realise in July and August has been keeping you quite small. Whatever the nature of this group or network, you will be free to go or free to change it in the second half of 2025. This week, though, is all about making more of your social people, your friends, your circles, and also even high society. We do associate Jupiter with high places. He is the god of the eagle, for example, in ancient Rome, and he is associated with anything or anybody that flies high. So friends in high places is an old-fashioned interpretation of Jupiter in the 11th house, but you've certainly seen some evidence of that already, and there will be more to come by the time you get to June. You are not a networker, though. It is alien to your nature. You are much more about enjoying the court. You are the king or the queen of astrology, ruled by Leo the lion. So this is really about those around you, those you are gathering to your side, but also those that you feel an affinity with. You appreciate your allies this week, and you know where they are. Virgo. Mars retrograde in Cancer means backwards action, reversal and rehearsal with friends and groups. It ends in April. However, you may find stop-start has been going on already with these people or these circles of people. It does fade out of your life over the next few weeks, but until then, you may want to have plan B and plan C, as there is no chronological order with the team, the club, the band, the society, and so on. And there's certainly no chronological order with a friend of yours. In fact, this person or the story or plan may already have vanished more than once since last year. However, from June, Jupiter goes into Cancer, also into your zone of friends and groups. So anything that is untogether or unresolved socially or on a more organised level will be sorted out from June when solutions appear on this cycle. Mars going backwards and forwards in Cancer in your social zone, and then Jupiter going forwards in Cancer could not be more different, but one feeds the other. So don't place too much focus at the moment on who or what is untogether for you. And it may be anything from another group to your own group. What you will find is that as the wheels turn backwards and forwards this week, they also have you thinking about what you would like to be different later on. All you are waiting for is the opportunity or the open doorway, and that will arrive with Jupiter in Cancer. And certainly by July, when the sun has also been going through this sector of your horoscope, you would have thought that mid-year would be a real turning point for you. And in fact, the networks and circles that you wake up to by July will be a reflection of the optimism that you have now. Libra. The South Node in Virgo in your solar 12th house does suggest a retreat this week, a period of time in your life you plan to be alone, or a special place where you hope to find solitude and privacy. You may be more curious about your dreams, mediumship, tarot, astrology, psychology, hypnosis, psychiatry, and so on. This is all about the inner life. You only get this cycle every 18 or 19 years, and it's triggered this week. If you have anything in Pisces in your birth chart, you can double that message because, again, you have this transit going on in your 12th house of solitude and the inner life. Even if you don't, or you just don't know, 2025 is an epic year for you, dealing with religion, God or not God, self-help or your psychic side. So what's going on with the South Node in Virgo in your solar 12th house? For a start, you could learn a lot by looking at your emails from 18 or 19 years ago, because they will point you to something that you never finished. It may be unfinished business with, for example, therapy, or the fact that you never got closure with a hypnotist that you were seeing. Maybe you have unfinished business with the church, with a particular religion, even if you were not involved with it. Or maybe your unfinished business is with the more psychic side of your life. At the moment, this cycle is taking you through repetition and over-familiarity so that a sense of déjà vu is totally normal. You may also find that no matter what you do and say, others never change their script. This is all part of a classic nodal cycle for you, and it's destined to get you to change on the inside, which is probably already happening. Scorpio. The two-way street in your life with him or her is triggered this week. That dual carriageway, which may be the two of us together or me against you, back on your list as you go through the recycling of the Uranus in Taurus transit, which goes round and round like a record until the record stops for just long enough that you need in the month of July. Now, the usual outcome of this, which you've seen again and again since 2018, is that you find freedom through the other person or freedom from them. And it's usually of the unpredictable kind, so that the last thing that either of you expect to happen is always the first thing that happens. This has, in fact, been going on for some years now. It does stop when Uranus leaves the sign that is concerning you in July. He is out of Taurus then. But until then, you may as well look back over your shoulder to the way that you've been dealing with this for all this time and understand that expecting a predictable existence is probably a waste of your time, because Uranus is just not that. In fact, it is always about recurring revolutions. And here's another one. Depending on your personal chart, this is either going to be really important, or it may be just another case of the record being turned over and a new track beginning. However, if you do have anything in your horoscope which is tied to the 7th house, ruled by Libra, or tied to the 5th house, particularly ruled by Leo, then you're more likely to feel it. At the moment, you are in a position to offer more space, freedom and independence, more autonomy to the other person, whether this is a conflict or whether it's a partnership situation. At the same time, you have every right to ask for that as well, or to make it happen. Sagittarius. Mars retrograde in Cancer is triggered this week. It seems you need to give full attention to what you earn, own, or owe, and make sure that you pour masses of energy into dealing with delays and stop-start, which has been going on for weeks. Mars retrograde is financial and property, business or charity, rehearsal and reversal and rescheduling. But it is part of future solutions and big opportunities that you've not seen in 12 years. 2025 is really important for money and property, and so is 2026. So your eyes should be on June and July. If those dates are in your calendar, it would not be a total surprise, whether this is about the bank account, your house or apartment, business or shares. What it means now to have Mars going stop-start, and then Jupiter in your 8th house of financial relationships, is a kind of prep period that's longer than you wanted. You may be making notes in a notebook or putting numbers on your computer only to change them later. You cannot control other people, and you certainly cannot control what is happening in the world economy, which will be erratic and unpredictable for months. However, you can also figure out what you want to happen later on, because the seeds of future growth for you financially, when you make or save a lot of money after June, are actually in the garden this week. Capricorn. Pluto in Aquarius is putting power in the financial, business, charity, or property space for you again this week. You may know each other closely. For example, it's your ex-wife and she wants you to sell the house, or it's your business partner and he wants to talk numbers. There may be a secondary consideration with a family member, as your property and family zone is coming up in importance. This also applies to your shared household, flatmates, roommates, and tenants. Decisions will roll, if so, between now and May, when you have a major cycle beginning involving your ruling planet Saturn. But let's go back to Pluto in Aquarius, because it is all about power and control, and there it is in your zone of money and property. If you have anything in Taurus in your birth chart, you can double this message. The numbers are the numbers, but this is personal. So Pluto is about understanding who has the upper hand and who doesn't, and how to share the reins with him, her, or them. That is pretty easy for me to say and a lot more intense for you to actually do. And in fact, every time you've tried to do this in 2023 or 2024, you have run across the same Pluto issues. However, you are learning as you go along, and it is quite true that there will be a new beginning with the house, the apartment, the real estate, the family, or the household from the final week of May 2025, when Saturn, your ruling planet, goes into Aries, joining Neptune and Chiron. In plain English, it is the end of ... but also the start of, and maybe you're aware of it this week. Long term, though, the real priority this week is to look at power and control questions with others who are tied into all of this, and stepping back from it, figure out how to deal. Aquarius. Uranus, your ruling planet, is in Taurus this week, well and truly triggered. So that's an ongoing revolution with your ideas about what a home should be or what your town or country is. If you have Cancer birth chart factors, you can double that message, and you can allow until April for reversals and rehearsals. But the biggest opportunity in 12 years for you will land in June and July, when every question that you currently have about what a home should be can be answered in a really elevated way. But back to your solar chart for you as an Aquarian. How do you deal with the final months of this unpredictable cycle for your home, your family, your household, or your real estate, your town or country? It can help to see it as a liberation moment from the past if you are able to get that level of detachment about it. I'm sure that you feel very close to what has happened to you since 2018, because it did in fact turn the known world upside down for you. For some of you, depending on your personal chart, that may still be going on. However, the long view of your horoscope suggests that you are being liberated from people or situations or places which long-term would have confined you and restricted you. That can sometimes be quite hard to see, but an impartial outsider or an objective friend or family member may give you the insight this week. Pisces, the whole transportation and travel story with Uranus in Taurus and in your birth chart, Jupiter in Gemini, is a very big deal this week. We don't normally think about such things as being important in astrology, but your horoscope says it's crucial because decisions are rolling about how you get from A to B. Short journeys and regional getaways, the neighbours and neighbouring places on the map. That's ongoing radical change for you, and the revolution is picking up speed at the moment. If you're one of those Pisces people who have Gemini factors in your chart, this week will show you an important new way of commuting and connecting with neighbouring places and neighbouring people. For some of you, that's London, Paris. For others, it's Canada, America. And for others still, it's just the suburb or village next door. But your chart is saying it's time to roll up your sleeves and get on with a new approach, a different approach. As you have this cycle until July, it is worth focusing on the long-term impact, because what you sign off from by July will permanently change the way that you handle everything from your car to public transport to walking to cycling, but also your eyes on domestic flights and local travel, probably by car. All of this does have a long-term impact on you, as I've mentioned, and going further ahead, on a world level, what we're going to see with Uranus in Gemini from the second half of 2025 is a very long-term revolution in all forms of transport and travel worldwide. That's being hinted at already, of course, with new technology, but this hasn't even really started. This week, that will be on your radar, but on a personal level, you're also going to figure out a different way to get around. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch up with you next week.